Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NMH at 1 as we review the daily newspapers. The fallout from the resignation of the Minister of Defense, Peter Vilho, continues to make headlines, while we also bring you up to date on all the other highlights in the Namibian news cycle currently. I am your host, Priska Anyolo, and thank you so much for joining us today. But first, on Thursdays, our COVID-19 monitor looks at quarantine data. By Tuesday, less than 1,300 people were housed in government's quarantine facilities, the lowest number in almost 2 months. Over the last 7 days, 772 individuals entered quarantine, while close to 1,200 were discharged. Another 281 people were vaccinated on Tuesday, bringing the total doses administered to 2,375. Our map shows quarantine data for each region by Monday. Tuesday's details must still be released. Facilities in Windhoek and the Umusati region were empty. The largest group of people, 658, were under quarantine in the Oshikoto region, followed by 282 in the Karas region and 180 in the Zambezi region. Those under supervision in the regions of Ohangwena, Umusati, and Oshotondjupa were already cooped up between 8 and 10 days. The biggest movements over the 7 days up to Monday occurred in 4 regions, for which we display the number of entries and exits. In Oshikoto, 300 new individuals were quarantined and 281 were discharged. The Karas region recorded 225 entries and 343 exits. Only 34 people started quarantine in Kunene region, where 428 could go home. Zambezi recorded 154 entries and only 19 exits. On Friday, our monitor will give a snapshot of the 7-day averages of new cases for Namibia and its 35 health districts. Do join us for that at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And now we head into the video news segment of the show. For our first story, Ongwediva Town Council spokesperson Jackson Muma says that the Ongwediva Annual Trade Fair is scheduled to take place from the 26th to the 31st of August 2021 over a shorter time span and mostly virtually.
Ongwediva Annual Trade Fair that has been scheduled to take place from the 26th to the 31st of August this year, and we are going to have it in a hybrid format, that is virtual and traditional. We also expect that most of our exhibitors and visitors will be on virtual platforms, but also a fraction of our exhibitors and visitors will also be accommodated at the trade fair ground. So what will happen is we have a form. All our exhibitors will have to apply through a form and get admitted as such, and we will then sort everything out there. So in essence, we are looking at the situation, the current situations, which is dictated by the prevailing COVID-19, so that at least we have more people on virtual than on the ground. And we also have to give this opportunity to our business community to showcase their services and products to their clients.
The FNB Residential Rental Index posted another contraction. This is what Market Research Manager Frans Ausiku has to say.
The FNB residential rental index for the third quarter of 2020 took a dip of negative 1.3% at the end of September 2020. This brings the national weighted average rent to 7,091 compared to 7,164 recorded over the same period of last year. The sudden return of the rental growth into negative territory affirms the pass-through effects of COVID-19 pandemic on the rental market. This is unsurprising given the notable job losses and reduced income for the most part of the workforce, as the country implemented COVID-19 containment measures during this period. Meanwhile, the government reported that 8,000 employees were dismissed during the first 2 quarters of 2020 compared to 950 employees dismissed over the same period of 2019.
Tuyemo Haidula spoke to Leah Nampala about her work sharing information on endometriosis after she took part in a run-along race organized by Ongwediva Medipark to raise awareness about the condition. For the full story, do check out today's edition of the Namibian Sun as well as the following video.
It's not a cure, but go out there, find out what is wrong with you, especially us women. We shouldn't be shy. Let's just go out and get ourselves checked, find out what is wrong with you, especially pelvic pains, periods, there, please do. Endometriosis, it can end your life on a serious note. And talk to someone. Talking to someone is always important because it will make things lighter for you in a way, because it's always nice if you get someone. I know when we go to someone, find somebody who you trust, because I know I go there and you go say, tell me, go tell Simpson, and then Simpson goes and tell. That's part of life, but take it positive. And once you find out what is wrong with you, if it is endometriosis, first thing you need to do, make peace with it. If you don't make peace with it, you're gonna. You can take you in, or make yourself to dig yourself a hole that is so deep and so dark that you'll not be able to get out of it.
And now we look at the front pages of our Namibian newspapers. Namibian Sun focuses on the future of the Namibia defense sector, profiling some of the candidates to take over the ministerial job from Peter Vilho. The newspaper also published confirmation from the police that its Commercial Crime Investigation Division has launched a probe into August 26, against which the Defense Ministry has opened a case of money laundering and fraud charges to the tune of 200 million Namibian dollars. Republican reveals that authorities have set in motion the process of extraditing the former Windhoek lawyer Maren de Klerk from South Africa. De Klerk is alleged to have handled payments of more than 70 million Namibian dollars from the state-owned Fish Corps to various beneficiaries linked to the Fishrot scandal. De Klerk has been in South Africa since January last year, presumably in the Western Cape where he owns property. Allgemeine Zeitung leads with President Hage Geingkop's renewed criticism of the World Health Organization's rollout of its vaccine program against COVID-19. During an online press conference, Geingkop expressed his disappointment to the WHO that Namibia has not yet received a vaccine shipment from the COVAX facility, although the country paid for it very early. He again repeated his stance that the exclusion of Namibia comes down to what he calls a COVID apartheid. The Namibian quotes the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Paulus Noah, that the ACC are not investigating allegations against former Minister of Defense Peter Vilho because a police matter regarding the case is already active. Noah said criminal cases do not expire and that even if a case was shelved or dropped due to lack of evidence, the investigation could be revived if new information resurfaced. New Era leads with calls for the reopening of an investigation into a controversial Chinese arms dealer, which is under U.S. sanctions, in the wake of the resignation of Defense Minister Peter Vilho earlier this week. The Namibian Defense Force was forced to cancel a multi-million-dollar transaction with Chinese state-owned military equipment manufacturer Poly Technologies during 2017. And now moving on to the inside pages of the country's dailies. The lead story on Market Watch covers yesterday's launch of the Namibia Revenue Agency, which was attended by President Hage Geingob. Speaking at the event, Sam Shivute, who will lead the tax revenue collecting body as its commissioner, set out the vision and objectives of the organization. Inside the Namibian is the story of Simasiku Matomola, a 39-year-old ranger at the Mudumo National Park in the Zambezi region who had an extremely dangerous encounter with an elephant. Matomola tells in his own words how his stomach was teared open by the elephant's tusks and how his determination to survive kicked in. New Era follows the story of a former magistrate whose trial on multiple counts of rape and kidnapping began in the Windhoek High Court yesterday. Jaco Kennedy and his cousin Raymond Klute, both 33 years old, both pleaded not guilty to the charges. The state alleges that Kennedy and Klute attacked a woman in 2015 after they offered her transport before Kennedy allegedly also tried to murder the victim by assaulting and strangling her. Republican, like most other dailies, gives coverage to the controversial court proceedings yesterday where Christofina Amutenya, the mother who allegedly killed her 2 children in Ethiopia late last year, were freed from detention following the withdrawal of the charges against her. Amutenya lived in Ethiopia as the spouse of a diplomat and is alleged to have strangled her children aged 9 and 3, as well as attempting to kill her stepson in December last year. Both the defense and the prosecution expect Amutenya to be rearrested as soon as the required documentation has been acquired. The Allgemeine Zeitung reports that a German non-profit environmental and consumer protection association is collaborating with Namibian environmental activists in joining in the international campaign against Recon Africa's oil exploration project in the Kavango. On the same day, Recon Africa announced that the company had hired Diana McQueen, who has held various cabinet positions in the Canadian province of Alberta, to act as a senior consultant in the areas of government, indigenous relations, and strategic affairs. Namibian Sun's journalist Kenya Kambowe reports from Rundu that a multi-million-dollar maternity ward at the state hospital has fallen into disuse just 4 months after it was inaugurated by Health Minister Kalumbi Shangula. Shangula explained that a lack of medical oxygen in the unit is the reason why the maternity ward is not operational. The planned installation of a medical oxygen bank on site looks set to inflate the cost of the facility even further. And that is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining into NMH at 1 today. I've been your host, Priska Agnolo, and do stay tuned for the weather as well. Goodbye.